he is supposed to have taken them with that team. So it raises its own legal and ethical challenges about why a separate set of statements needed to be taken. They went together for the purpose of taking the statements. And what did in fact happen is Advocate Ramsami had made extensive notes out of the Section 27, and having read the inadequate, lack of A1s. So she had categorized the questions around groupings of matters to be looked at, aspects to be canvassed with Mr. Adams, so that when they went there, it was a structured approach. So the team should have followed that approach. And if either Mr. Rapetsu or Chief Perumal felt that, wait, there's something else still to be dealt with on an aspect, it should have been dealt with all at the same time. If there was a need to, it should have been captured in one document and then commissioned, and then we move on to the next, and so on and so on.
Okay, let me put it this way to you. What I'm trying to get your comment on is, if the three of them together produced the supplementary statements, what has been labeled supplementary statements, the three of them, and then Mr. Perumal, Chief Perumal, behind their backs, because there's no better way of saying this, behind their backs he goes and he decides to write his own statement that he commissions without the other two knowing, and he gets Mr. Adams to depose. Let's assume for now that it is in fact Mr. Adams who deposed, who becomes the deponent, because on these facts and the mess that has happened here, it seems to me it's not inconceivable that Mr. Adams could turn around and say, but I don't know anything about that, which you say Perumal signed, commissioned. If it turns out that Chief Perumal went and did his own thing, wherever and however, surely the official statement of IDAC would be that which was done by the three of them together and deposed to by Rapetsu. Is that a fair?
It's a fair assessment.
It's a fair assessment and proposition to make, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now on that, if in fact, as we know it has happened in the Mokwele matter, if the docket that is before the court and that is disclosed to the accused, and that is the basis for the warrants that were obtained for instituting for the charges, it is in fact Perumal's questionable statements, not the ones that were properly taken. Is that would amount to? It seems to me that would have amounted to defeating the ends of justice, lying to the court, lying to you, misleading everyone that is involved with this, and failure to disclose the true contents of the docket. Am I correct in all of that? I'm assuming Perumal's are in fact a manufactured statement that is being used.
Correct.
That would be correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
and that would undermine the prosecution itself, right? The entire prosecution, because it's based on A1 statements that are questionable, as in they've been made up by Chief Perumal, whether with or without Mr. Adams, but they are not an official record of the IDAC.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
And before we look at what you stated to Parliament regarding providing this affidavit, let's look at how matters were dealt with concerning the contents of the affidavit. I'll invite you to page 554 or file 3. That is your transcript before ad hoc. And if we can take it Yes, Chair.
including the file with the...
He is supposed
Let's
to
give
hear
him that much.
It's just jiggered, but he
Yes.
doesn't know more than.
He says it looks jiggered to him. Now, you must recall that when we were dealing with our A1 statement in the Mokwele matter, our A1 statement in that docket is the quote-unquote Perumal statement. So, Chair, I
Say Chair, let's break. Can I just check something? Ms. Johnson, considering the dates in the Perumal, I'm going to call it the Chief Perumal statements, which is the 6th of January, and then on the same day, Rapetsu also it's the 6th of January. Would it be normal, I can't think of the correct word, but that you would have an A1 statement on the 6th of January taken by a member of this 3-member team, and on the same day you have the same team, you have a supplementary statement. It seems to me intuitively that you just have one A1 statement if they were all traveling together and they were interviewing the complainant together. Am I right? That
Correct.
you would have one comprehensive statement?
Procedurally, it does not make sense.
Yes.
What might have made sense is there were 4 statements to be taken. If perhaps Mr. Perumal took 2 and Rapetsu took 2,
Yeah.
but on those same matters, and then they end up with a total of 4.
Yeah.
That is logical. But you cannot have one team together, same day, same place.
Taking a main statement and a supplementary statement.
And bearing in mind, Chair, that the purpose was for a supplementary statement to bolster the dockets that were purported to be somewhat lacking.
Thank you.
I think it highlights the danger I mentioned 15 minutes ago, where
Absolutely.
only one person is engaging or not engaging with a witness. But advocacy law, something even more important. In the docket and in the various documents that were given to the court, what was disclosed? Is what was disclosed what we now know as the doctored A1, or is it the correct supplementary?
so far we have the Mokwele docket that we have worked through. It is what the commissioner calls the doctored A1. That's the A1 in the Mokwele docket.
I mean, that is serious misconduct. It's serious misconduct.
It is indeed.
Because it means that is what is disclosed to the court and to the accused.
Indeed, Chair.
Let's adjourn at this point and resume at 14:40.
Thank you, Chair.
let's get through the Section 28 subpoena processes that followed after the 6th January engagements with Mr. Adams. So documents were subpoenaed and they would have been provided.
Well, in his affidavit, he tells you, or he tells Mr. Perumal, how he received this information, the very affidavit you're looking at, and he says, I attach here 2 documents which were pushed under my door, my office door at Parliament, and which relate to Madondo's application. Now, it doesn't call her General, so I'm reading, it's not me being disrespectful to General Madondo, which relate to Madondo's application for security clearance marked FA. So Mr. Perumal, or Chief Perumal, knows from this that he's now receiving and looking at information that that was not lawfully obtained, and that Mr. Adams is not entitled to have access to and to have sight of. And so my question to you is, was that inquiry that your code of conduct says you must satisfy yourself whether that evidence was lawfully obtained, was that done in this case, or you were all just happy to get the information and then carry on because it takes you down a particular path of inquiry?
If you go to 3474, that is the investigation diary of, I think, the officer who took the complaint. I'm looking at line 8, where it describes the modus operandi. It appears that suspect, Lieutenant General Khumalo from SAPS, Secret Services, neglected protocol and instructed Major General Lekalakala and Brigadier Munyani to not conduct investigations against General Lushaba. So that is the officer's interpretation of what's contained, the summary of the A1. Okay, then if we move forward then to 3475, we're just following the sequence of the page numbers. What we have here at 3476 now is the statement by Mr. Adams, commissioned by Mr. Perumal. At paragraph 2, you will recognize that that statement is our A1 statement in the docket. At file 2, page 3478, we have, it's not this one. My apologies, I take it back. This is a second issue now. The allegations related, I'm reading at paragraph 2, fourth line. The allegations related to the highly questionable appointment of General Khumalo as the head of crime intelligence nationally. The former Minister of Police, Mokwele, was also involved in this, while several high-skilled generals within CI were overlooked. At paragraph 3, Khumalo's vetting processes were allegedly fast-tracked by Masemula, who knew that Khumalo did not have a top secret clearance for many years. And then the last line at paragraph 3, I suspect that the vetting processes were manipulated in favor of Khumalo as well. My interpretation of what's contained in paragraphs 2 and 3 is that former Minister Mokwele was involved in the questionable appointment of General Khumalo and overlooking other highly skilled generals. And secondly, at 3, Khumalo's process was allegedly fast-tracked by Masemula, who knew that Khumalo did not have a top clearance certificate. I don't know. I take it fast-tracking in and of itself is not a crime. But what's sought to be expressed here is the unlawful conduct by Minister Mokwele had the support and participation of General Masemula. Do you get to the same conclusion as well?
Yes.
Now, you remember Section 28 that has got a list of people This is the only statement I found where current generals or high-ranking members of crime intelligence, where their security clearances are questioned. And I see only General Khumalo. I can't find any other basis for General Madondo, Galakala, and that entire list. And I do not have any other A1 statement that introduces them by Mr. Adams being the complainant.
If you look at, through your chair, if we look at 3479, paragraph 2, on or about early October 2024, I received information anonymously surrounding alleged fraud and corruption being perpetrated within the Division Crime Intelligence of the SAPS. The allegations related to the questionable lateral transfer of Major General Madondo from KZN to CI head office by Lieutenant General Khumalo, who was assisted by other senior generals to do so, knowing that she failed a top secret clearance for many years. That is where I see it.
Okay, so that statement then introduced General Madondo.
That statement introduces.
You remember we have Brigadier Van Vuren, we have, I think, Brigadier Bobby, we have Nube, we have all of them. There are about 8 in our section 28. We account for only 2 if these statements get us there, but just for the moment, accept that they do. We have only 2 whose vetting clearances are questioned. Fortunately, that page, the case docket, it's barely legible, but at least in the top center block, you can make out the case number, and I read it as 1650/10/2024. That is then followed by the reposition 3467. And you will note in the second block, it's got the date of 29/10/2024, signed by Captain, I can't make out the name, but the captain. Then it jumps to 3468, our new 3468, and it's got case number 542/06/2025. That's the Brooklyn case, and that's what we call the Mokwele case. For your notes, that is the front page of the A1 statement as we already have it at file 2, page 681, together with the following page at 3469. Then once again at 3470, it's a Cape Town 1650/10 statement. So that's when the case was opened in Cape Town. At 3471, bearing the same case number, we know the offense there is defeating the ends of justice. And 3472 is Mr. Adams' handwritten statement. I assume that it is in respect of case number 1650. There is nothing that tells me, unless perhaps the content just might do, so we retained it there. And at 3473, you will note, Commissioners, that it was commissioned on the 29th of October 2024 at 1500 hours. And that is then followed by 3474, which is a copy of the investigation diary signed by Captain somebody there, and references the statement taken from Mr. Adams. Now, that we should consider that as the pack for case number 1650. Now, you recall, Advocate Johnson, we're going through this exercise because we established that IDAC received a Section 27 affidavit on the 27th or 21st of November 2024. And the idea, we I think we've established that it was fairly deficient for compliance with Section 27 itself. And you indicated that the dockets, the relevant dockets, the A1 statements in there, plus the supplementary statement, would cure whatever legal deficiency there was in the original affidavit. And collectively, that's what informs the Section 28 summons. That's the purpose of this entire exercise. So let's look at 1650, this one that we've been discussing, which would start at page 3466 to 3474. If you go to page 3472, that is Mr. Adams's statement. Another time he opened this case in Cape Town, I'm at 3472 in the second paragraph. It reads, a cover-up of Major General Lushaba's Sunnyside case of robbery, whereby official state firearm, laptop, and cell phone was stolen after acquiring the services of a prostitute on 5 August 2022. Lieutenant General Kumalo instructed Major Likalakala and Brigadier, looks like either Monyani or Monyana, it fell off in the copying, to ensure that there would be no investigation into the conduct of General Lushaba as per Valeria case 38/822. The prostitute was paid for her silence using monies from the Secret Service account. New equipment was bought for Major General Lushaba by again abusing the Secret Service account. Evidence to this effect is available. You see where I'm reading?
Yes.
So this particular case relates to the so-called cover-up of General Lushaba's, I don't know if it's a crime, misconduct, but concerns with how Major General Lushaba ended up losing his equipment. I then look at the statements that you have provided, A1 statements that you have provided. These start from page 3479. There are 3 statements. And none of them speak to this particular issue raised in docket number 1650 in Cape Town.
On
the statement
3485.
They go 3484. That's how far they go to 3484.
Yes, what I'm saying is that...
Oh, sorry, 3486.
Yes,
3486.
Is counsel saying that other than that handwritten statement, there isn't another statement referring to the issue of the Lushaba housebreaking?
No, relating to the cover up by General Kumalo, who instructed Major General Ligalakala and Brigadier Munyani or Munyana to ensure that there is no investigation. The statement we are looking at 3485, on my reading, speaks to the housebreaking. And overleaf at 3486, he says, after making this report, I make inquiries. And Mr. Adams says that he could not get a case number as concerned that my report was being swept under the carpet. I don't see in this January 2025 statement any allegation pertaining to the conduct of General Kumalo, General Likalakala, and General Munyama. Do you?
I see that.
You confirm that. And then staying at 3472, it concludes with the words, evidence to this effect is available. Did IDAC ever obtain that evidence?
I'm unable to respond to that. I don't know that we did get.
Sorry, I
I'm
missed
unable
that.
to. Sorry, I'm unable to respond to that. I'm unaware of what follow-up they would have made.
Now, do you know who within IDAC became the investigator in this particular complaint?
The one with Lushaba,
Yes,
that is Mr. Padiachi.
Mr. Padiachi.
Yes.
So if anyone should have called for you to consider the documents filed last night and this morning by Advocate Johnson, and on a consideration of those documents, it has become necessary for the Commission to update their exhibit files because we have what could potentially be documents contradicting the very documents she has filed. And I was moving on to that topic now. A request has been extended that Advocate Johnson have opportunity to confer with her legal team regarding these seemingly contradictory statements before we traverse those issues during testimony. I don't know if Mr. Bodlani would like to add anything.
I may just confirm, commissioners, that it is so. I had a conversation with Ms. Siller last night about what was still outstanding from what had been requested of us. And then I made a request to those instructing me that every document that had been sought must be made available immediately. Even I hadn't had an opportunity to look at those documents. During the adjournment, Ms. Siller confirmed to me that she's going to deal with some of those documents. I conferred with the witness. The witness herself was shocked to learn that there are contradictory documents. We request at least about 15 or 20 minutes of a stand down so that we may consider those documents, confer with her, render advice if and when called upon to do so.
We'll come back when it's indicated to us then. Let us adjourn.
Thank you.
We know that from your previous testimony that following this authorization that we are dealing with at CJC 3905, page 3307, on that particular day as well, there was a hive of activity. 2 letters written to, I think it's Lieutenant General Mbuso Kumalo requesting the dockets, a letter to General Sintumole, your authorization of the panel, the designated members to look into this, and the presentation of himself by Mr. Rapetsu at the inspectorate to go obtain the dockets. The 6th of December was a busy day.
Yes, ma'am.
Very. Is that like standard busy days for IDAC?
It is standard when they are starting with an investigation and they are looking for, it depends on what they're looking for.
Yes.
And in this instance, because they were looking for the dockets, allegations being that the dockets had been lost, it created its own sense of urgency, is to locate the dockets. Nothing else beyond that.
So you consider the investigation urgent?
The tracing of the dockets urgent, yes.
Why?
The dockets, the allegation by Adams is the dockets are already missing. We are given a referral. We need to register an investigation. The investigation is now registered in terms of 2813. And the first exercise out of that, in order to go forward, is to trace the dockets.
I don't understand why. The referral is not referring a complaint of interception. We settled that one.
Yes.
It's referring a complaint about conduct, specific conduct, as articulated in the section 27. My suggestion is the dockets become completely irrelevant. This is a new complaint that must be substantiated on its own terms. And if I'm anywhere close to being correct, I would like to understand what was the urgency about this particular investigation. Just the allegation that dockets are missing and it's enough to set fire to IDAC and everybody runs in all directions.
That's not what happened, Council.
Okay.
We found out on that day that the dockets must be in Gauteng. I know it sounds like a lot of, it happened in a phased approach. The investigators tried to determine where the dockets are. We then write to Major General Kumalo. He gives an indication of where the dockets are. We have to then follow that up. There's still time in that day to follow that up. And when we finally do follow where it is, we have to stand down because they can only then be made available on the Monday.
On the 9th, yeah.
So it wasn't, we have to get it today. It was, where are they? As you get the information, you follow that information. And when the destination of those dockets was determined, and it was determined that they were in a safe and that they were with a specific general, we went back on Monday.
We didn't touch on it, although we dealt with it with Colonel Padiache about the urgency of obtaining these dockets. And perhaps we will turn to that next.
Okay.
And my idea is to make the point that IDAC dealt with this investigation as of the 6th of December as a matter of extreme urgency, and I just want to understand why. But I see it's 11:04. The commissioners need to break for tea.
Let's adjourn and return at 11:35. Let's
Thank you,
adjourn.
November.
2-0.
There actually, there is 13285. But the 3285 is the designation. What I'm looking for is the actual application. And that's how I landed 3307. Thank you. Are you at file 83307?
Correct, Council?
Now, I understood your testimony on Thursday, in summary, to be Advocate Ramsami. You handed that section 27 to Advocate Ramsami. She considers the affidavit together with the legal provisions. She then arrives at certain conclusions and she drafts a section 2813 application and submits to you for consideration and approval. Am I on the right track there?
That is correct.
So I see at 3307, it's one such, it's addressed to you. And it says Advocate Santos Manilao and Advocate Ramsami. It's dated the 5th of December 2024. This is in relation to the list of 12, and that is at 3309. And while we are here, Advocate, I've resisted the temptation, but I think I succumb. The person at 3.12, automotive engineer, who's that? Is an automotive name? Do you have any idea?
No, Chair, these were the names that, when I checked with Advocate Ramsami, she said they were on that, they were on a paper that were furnished after Mr. Perumal had spoken to Mr. Adams.
Yes.
Yes.
So, at the risk of asking a stupid question, automotive engineer has got what, an ID number. Is that somebody we can search for at Home
It should be an
Affairs?
entity that could be found.
An entity.
Yes, ma'am.
But it says engineer suggesting
No,
a person.
it's an entity from how I understand it.
All right. I'm interested in 313 though. It says any and all individuals or entities whose identities are currently unknown, but which may become known during the investigation. You recall we started with Section 27 affidavit, which identified the first three names. We established that Mr. Perumal, through you suggested Mr. Perumal added the rest of the names, having consulted with Mr. Adams. But then it goes, so that's broadening it. But 313 goes even broader, considering the purpose for which you would be issuing a Section 28 and investigating. That there should be a limit to powers that are granted. 313 could very well discover my name in there and I become subjected to this investigation. Is that proper though? Because it's a limitless power and authorization here.
Counsel, it's not limitless because it relates to any and all individuals or entities whose identities are currently unknown, but are limited in which may become known during the course of this investigation.
Yes.
Yes.
But it doesn't go further to say that they are implicated in whatever crime is being investigated.
No.
It's just the names being known and suddenly there's authorization to go investigate them as well.
It doesn't of necessity mean that they are investigated. Any and all individuals or entities whose identities are currently unknown, but which may become known during the course of the investigation. Once those details come through, investigators are able to determine whether those are persons of interest to be investigated or those are persons whose names have come up and are potential witnesses.
So technically it's left to then the investigators. If they like me, they come across my name, they don't have to investigate. But if they don't like me, then they investigate. Do you understand my challenge? Because I think too much power resides and discretion resides with them. And that somehow has the potential to undermine the system. Doesn't it?
I take your point, but that shouldn't be done.
Okay.
That is not what the purpose of this insertion is. And it was also for practical reasons. You've got the authorization. You're conducting investigations, names come up, and the names can be either or. So if it is persons who would fall into the category of suspects or persons of interest, then you'd have to come back for an amendment. Yes. And so you are able to then deal with the investigation without the to and fro of the... I do take the point. Okay. And perhaps it could be couched somewhat differently, but this is what we have used over the time.
But isn't it a necessary control mechanism that what has been justified to you are the specific names? So you were given these names. There must have been justification to you. We had the earlier discussion about you satisfying yourself that there is a basis to include these specific names. And if that is your system, then paragraph 3.13 should not be there, because it means people will be included without it being justified to you who gave the authority. You understand the point I'm making?
I understand.
So 3.13 is very much open to abuse if you're not controlling it, if they don't come back to you to justify. And what you are saying to us now is you gave them that latitude to justify just from 3.1 up to 3.12. But then beyond that, you gave them latitude to justify that, and you were satisfied that there is merit in having 3.1 up to 3.12 to be investigated. But then what you go on to do then in 3.13, and you say to us that's how IDAC has always operated, is you then leave it to them to then determine as they go along to investigate without having to justify to you, which defeats the very purpose of justification to you in the first place. So my suggestion would be, if that's how you were operating, then you may as well just have at 3.13. They come and they tell you, we are going to investigate anyone that may be implicated, because that's the effect of 313. It allows anyone that Colonel Pareachi gets their name, you know, if Mr. Adams had said, Mr. Bodlani, that's all that would have happened. He would have gone and investigated him under 3.13 without coming to you as the repository of the authority to authorize investigations into individuals, without coming to you to say, here's my justification for investigating him.
It was not the intention, but I do take.
But it is the effect.
It in all likelihood is the effect, and I take the point. And just for reassurance, Mr. Botlani is not in 3.13.
Yeah, we don't know who else Mr. Colonel Pareachi included in there, but he may well, and you have no control over that. You have no way of knowing. And I say Colonel Pareachi not to target him specifically, all your investigators. They may well be conducting investigations of individuals that are not authorized by you, and that may possibly not be related to a subject matter with that kind of provision.
The point is taken, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. We were still with that application. I see if we go to page 3, is that, or /06/2025. The docket you said is still under investigation, the docket in which J50 was issued for the arrest of General Kumalo, I think, and General Madondo, but which arrest warrant was then suspended. This is where that investigation, that is the matter that this investigation results in. That is about manipulation of their own security clearances, am I correct?
That is what I understand, yes.
So, where then we are, as you have testified.
Sorry, so
yes.
Can I just understand? The manipulation of their own security clearances is the allegation, and I'm just trying to understand your answer, is the allegation that they manipulated their own security status, or which is the one possibility. The other is they're charged and accused of manipulating other people's security vetting, because maybe let me leave it at that. Which of the two, because they're not the same.
As I understand, for example, in one matter, without going into the detail of the person's name, the person put in false affidavits about material requirements towards vetting.
Their own vetting.
Their own vetting.
Okay.
And then that was accepted as is by persons who ought to have interrogated and or engaged the process, and to have picked up during this process that the person had manipulated and or lied. And so the question was, did the second person knowingly overlook that there was an untruth, manipulation in the process? But it ordinarily starts with a person whose application is defective, for lack of a better word, Commissioner Barloy.
So what it is with that case is that one of them misrepresented certain information to the other, and the other did whatever they did to approve the vetting, if approve is the correct word. And your question in respect of that second person is whether they did so knowingly or not. Is that correct? Is that what you're saying? Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
But I don't recall seeing in the referral anywhere where it says Major General Lushaba's vetting and clearance is tainted with fraud and corruption.
Sorry, Chair, if you just grant me a moment. Yes, correct, Commissioner Khumalo, that he just refers to processes to appoint and promote certain members.
So it is the Mokwele issue where the vetting is a problem. And then reference to Lushaba is in paragraph 6 on 514, is the issue of the housebreaking and the laptop.
That is correct.
But there is no referral relating to their vetting or their security clearance being tainted with fraud and corruption. So if that is so, would there be a legal basis for then investigating their vetting and security clearances at all 4 levels, or at 3, at the level of a colonel, brigadier, and major general?
Chair, it would depend on what else they did have access to at the time, because they would have had to have access to the additional A1 statements that were taken, and not just this. So I would be remiss if I say no. Because this is done, Chair, in February of 2025. By that stage, they would have had the engagements with Adams, and in terms of those additional statements, I'm not sure that additional documents were provided, but they would have had a twofold basis upon which.
But as I understand it, the substance of what Commissioner Khumalo is raising with you is this: if this was never referred in terms of the affidavit, how do we suddenly have it here? The fact that the investigators may have come across some information at a later stage cannot cure the lack of a referral in the first instance. I thought that's the substance of the question.
Correct. Yes. And so we would just have to look at the additional A1, and because the additional A1 is supposed to talk to the Section 27, if it is not there, then it doesn't talk to.
So even if the information is subsequently obtained and is contained somewhere, it means nothing if there was no referral in the first place, or not?
Unless there was other evidence before the issue of the summons.
Yeah. All right, okay.
Thank you, Commissioners.
In unlawful issuing of security clearances, that is what you're investigating. Are you saying you were satisfied from the briefing you got that there was a basis to investigate whether General Khumalo, or an allegation that General Khumalo's security clearance given when he was a brigadier was a result of manipulation of your vetting process, of their vetting processes. When he became Major General, the security clearance that he got was a result of the manipulation of vetting processes. And then when he ultimately becomes I think he's a Brigadier, Major General, and then Lieutenant General. Are you saying that with the briefing, you are satisfied that there is a basis to investigate those clearances that he got starting with Brigadier? Is that what you satisfied yourself about, that there was a basis for that?
There was a basis
For that.
to request those documents to determine whether or not, in fact, there was a manipulation of the security vetting process.
So you were satisfied that there is from your briefing, you were satisfied that there is sufficient information that casts doubt on his security vetting for all those three positions?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Mr.
Thank you, Commissioner Baloy. And perhaps just to clarify, when Colonel Padiache appeared before the commission and was engaged on this document, he testified that his investigation was confined to the recommendation and appointment of Brigadier Mokwele. So that's the person appearing at 1.6. And he explained that this summons was intended to cover all other investigations. So he could not account for how the names of 1.1 to 1.5 and 1.7 found its way into this summons. His interest lies only in 1.6. You suggested that we should turn perhaps to Colonel Padiache, Mr. Perumal, Mr. Mancha, and Mr. Mlambo. On that basis, on the basis of what I have just highlighted, it would sound that Mr. Padiache, Colonel Padiache has given an account of this section 28, and we cannot turn to him. Would there be a reason for you to question that he is correct, that he can only account for Brigadier Mokwele because that was the leg of the investigation he was involved in?
Chair, because they work as a team, you would find that they compile these subpoenas, and when they compile the subpoenas, they identify as a team what is required. As indicated initially, when the legs are broken up into different legs of investigation, they also would then, in the manner in which they subpoena documents, don't subpoena per individual, especially when you're subpoenaing, as an example, from the National Commissioner. They would want to subpoena as many of the similar types of documents. So he would have had to have been part of that conversation and would have had to know that all of these people are also being considered. It's a bit difficult to divorce yourself when you are part of a team, because on the basis of what would you say to Mr. Mlambo, whose name is on the... Mr. Mlambo, while you're doing this, just add my one. They would have to agree as a team. Vetting processes, this is what we're looking at. Who are we looking at? What are we requesting? Whom do we request it from? That makes sense in terms of their investigative methodology.
Okay, so then, if I understand you correctly, they bear collective responsibility for that list. It's not enough for Colonel Padiache to say, I was only investigating the appointment of the person listed in item 1.6.
That is correct.
Okay.
Sorry,
Yes,
before you do your question again, just to make sure that we're not missing each other, or you understand the fullness of what I was trying to do. I used 1.1 General Khumalo as just an example,
yes.
But in fact, what I was raising applies to all of the people on the list. can we confirm that your response applies to all of them as
That
well?
is correct,
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Bello.
When you signed it and nobody else took part in that in the creation of that document, would it be an unfair accusation, and what would your response there to be if you were confronted with such?
It would be an unfair accusation because there is a process that follows. The application is drafted by somebody and it is brought by them. This portion is missing in this matter. I would, when you read it, it does make a recommendation from the author, which is from Manilal and Ramsami. They make a recommendation. I agree with the recommendation and I have signed it. I accept that, as we always do, there should have been the signature and the space that we always have for comment, and comment would have had to have been the recommendation as per 8.1 is either it's approved or not approved.
Did you not notice that before you signed it? Did you not notice that the people who are supposedly the authors of this document do not append their signatures or a date? Because a date is important. It's not just the signature. The same way you do with that 6 December date, the date when they give it to you, whether it's on the 5th or the 4th, is equally important. Did it not strike you as odd that at the end of the document, their names do not appear, nor does the date when they gave you this document?
So, Chair, Commissioner Khumalo, I took the date as is, which is on the front of the document, which is the 5th of December 2024, as being the date of the document.
But normally the same way you do, if you look at dated and signed at on 3311 and then your signature afterwards, the two usually go together. Because, for example, if now they distance themselves from this document and they say, well, we did not make the recommendation, how do we establish that they did in the absence of their signature or the date when they appended a signature to the document?
I hear you. But the document does come from them with the date. It just didn't have the signature. But I take your point. It is done. In IDAC, they do put it in as a memorandum request, and it is usually signed. There is space for comment, and then for me to indicate whether approved or not approved, and then the application is also attached.
And why did you not pick it up or raise it at the time? Because the way you are responding now, it looks like you are seeing this for the first time.
No, I'm not sure why I didn't raise it.
I think, Ms. Johnson, unless there's a page missing or pages missing before page 3311, if that's all of it, if what we are looking at now is all of what was presented to you, then the other incomprehensible issue about this letter is that whoever drafted it.
Of your answer, would it be appropriate, though, to be investigating such and threatening to arrest Minister Bekitele, former Minister Bekitele, and General Masemula for the fact that General Khumalo was hired into crime intelligence without vetting clearance, in the absence of any fact that he in fact did not have clearance, which was an absolute prerequisite for his appointment? Is it appropriate to follow that line of investigation culminating in potential charges and arrest based on what you have at 3475?
No, unless they fall within other offenses that are not here.
But it doesn't have other offenses thus far.
Yes,
And this is a statement that was commissioned by Mr. Perumal on the 6th of January 2025, as you see from page 3746. And just like our previous
sorry, page
3476, you remember we changed?
3476, yes.
Yeah. We changed numbers,
Yes.
numbering. Just like the previous one we had, they seem to have this perennial problem of being signed both at Pretoria and Cape Town. It's consistent, that error, through all of them. Are you able to shed some light as to how this comes about?
So, when the Commissioner of Oaths chair fills in, the Commissioner of Oaths fills in, as you see, they sign their full names, their office, the address of where they are stationed, and the agency for which they work. It is for that reason, on the right under Mr. Perumal, you will have the full names, ex officio, is the chief investigator, the investigating directorate, corruption, IDAC, Brooklyn, Pretoria, National Prosecuting Authority of South Africa, Pretoria. The part immediately under Mr. Adams' under Mr. Adams' signature, that says where they were when they took it, which was, they took it on the 6th day of January 2025, and it was done in Cape Town, with Adams having signed in Cape Town. Mr. Perumal signs as the Commissioner of Oaths, but that address that he appends is the address for where he is stationed as the Commissioner of Oaths.
No, if I may just interject, I apologize. My challenge lies in the wording above Mr. Perumal's signature. You see it reads thus, done and signed to at Pretoria on the 6th day of February, that's typed. And at the conclusion of that paragraph, it says, in my presence at Cape Town.
No, they have to explain. That I hope is just an honest document that we said would come just before lunch, the other file. And I did send you that file, Advocate Maga.
Oh, we'll check that, but at least for the moment, we know that IDAC has them.
It should be in that file, yes.
No, you are answering the way. I'm saying for a fact, IDAC has FA1. The documents that were part of the documents shoved under Mr. Adams' door.
I cannot answer till I see the file, because
No.
I didn't see FA1.
The affidavit is telling you. The affidavit itself says they are attached marked FA1.
Yes, if he's given them as FA1, then they must be there.
FA1 is not,
I did not
at least
see them,
FA1
yes.
is not in the file that I got. The sheaf of papers you gave me doesn't have FA1. But I argue to you that on the basis of what he says at 2, Mr. Adams, I have no reason to doubt that Mr. Adams gave the investigators those documents which he marked FA1 to this particular statement. So IDAC has them. It can't be a quibble, otherwise
No.
you are forced to then say Mr. Adams is misleading in that affidavit at paragraph 2, and you've got no basis as far as I'm aware to say so.
Correct.
So I know this affidavit was commissioned by Mr. Perumal on the 6th of January 2025. You said to Commissioner Balo you haven't seen FA1. To your knowledge, is Mr. Perumal available to assist us if we're to make an immediate inquiry regarding FA1, this annexure? And would he be able to, even if on an emergency basis, just to present himself before the commission tomorrow morning to speak to these matters?
He is unable to.
Why not?
I'm not sure if counsel did speak.
If I may assist.
Yes.
When we sought some of the documents that the evidence leaders wanted, I think the docket concerning Langlachte, we received an instruction to the effect that the person in possession of that docket is Mr. Perumal. And we sought instructions as to whether we can have a conversation with him. We were informed that he's not well. he was hospitalized during the course of the past weekend, so that we also didn't have access to him. The information I received last night was to the effect that he was discharged during the course of yesterday, and that attempts would be made to get that docket from his office, but we haven't had access to him at all. Fortunately for me, I haven't a medical certificate of any kind. I